All right, Apple threatened to kick Parler off of the App Store unless they banned certain individuals. And what's infuriating about this is when I've battled the D's and said, like, hey, man, you guys keep censoring people. You keep kicking people off platforms. You keep depersoning people. They're like, wow, they're private companies. They could do what they want. You should just start your own. And it's like, all right, so we just started our own, and it's still not good enough. They keep moving the goalpost. They said if we don't change our community guidelines to match what they'd like, they were going to remove us from the App Store, he said. I was pretty upset by this. And then Motzi said that Parler flat out refused to comply with Apple's demands, and now they are unable to push updates to their app. Later that evening, Motzi shared the contents of the conversation with a number of congressional lawmakers. Within 48 hours of that dinner meeting, the notice was removed from the account. I think it's political and I think it's bigoted, he told me. They don't want conservatives communicating freely on a platform with people they like. Apple, Google, Facebook, all these companies don't want them to exist, he said. They want to use it to control politics. Numbers were down for the Democrat National Convention for night one.
So if you take one thing from my words tonight, it is this. If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election. If we have any hope of ending this chaos, we have got to vote for Joe Biden like our lives depend on it.
I don't think that message was to the voters of America. That message was to every politician and every crooked person in government, both Republican and Democrat, because they're the only ones that really stand any trouble with the Trump re-election. The people of America will be fine, but all the wrongdoers, all the people that did everything bad, yeah, man, that's the election. Is you're voting whether or not you want the swamp to fully go down because they've been running out the clock, or you're voting to let the swamp completely get away with everything and then put the boot on the face of humanity forever. Would you believe they're still keeping Russia collusion going? Bipartisan Senate report details Trump campaign contacts with Russia in 2016, adding to Mueller findings. This is the 5th report. I'll link in the description if you want to waste your time on it. It's 1,000 pages long. When the final Mueller report came out, the Mueller report was unable to conclude no criminal conduct occurred on obstruction. Now, if you watched that Papadopoulos video, you could see when they arrested him and he didn't have the $10,000 on him that they expected, which they set him up for, they then charged him with obstruction because he deleted his Facebook account. So they invent charges. They invent charges against Flynn, Roger Stone, Manafort, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos. But just in case you encounter some deranged Ds that think they finally got Trump on Russia collusion with this news that came out, this report, ask them for specifics because they won't have them. The report doesn't have them. They'll say, well, it's messing with the integrity of our elections. What do they mean by that? Well, Trump worked with Russia. What does working with Russia really mean specifically? I mean, did he make a phone call to somebody? Is it illegal to talk to people from Russia? Well, Russians interfered with our elections. Surely you don't want Russians to interfere with our elections. Say, okay, what does interfering with our elections specifically mean? Do you mean that they physically hacked the ballot boxes? Because the Mueller indictment says that 16 Russians conducted a spear phishing campaign against the DNC, which means some moron clicked on a link and gave them the username and password. And then, well, yeah, the Russians hacked the DNC and say, okay, how did the Russians hack the DNC? Well, I just told you, the indictment, the Mueller indictment indicates it was a spear phishing attack. However, the majority of those emails that came out most likely came from the DNC server that Seth Rich imaged, which I did the video on the other day. So there was multiple hacks, one by an insider, a DNC staffer, Seth Rich, and the other, a spearfish campaign by the Russians. But ultimately, the Russian hack is leaking Hillary and Podesta's terrible, evil, corrupt emails onto the world. That's the hack. That's what they're mad about, is that everybody found out how bad Hillary and Podesta were. But ask them for the specifics. They don't have the specifics. I just gave you more specifics than they ever knew. They're going to say, but Paul Manafort, but Roger Stone, but yeah, say like just keep continuously ask them for specifics. You know, ask him, so what about Paul Manafort? Well, he worked with Russians. And what does working with Russians mean? He gave information to the Russians. What kind of information did he give to the Russians? And so they won't have that. Roger Stone lied. What did Roger Stone lie about? Because they don't know. They have no idea. They've been trained on what to believe. And throughout it all, they didn't interview Julian Assange. They didn't do an investigation on Seth Rich or Awan. So what kind of an investigation is it? Thousands and thousands of pages and none of the meat. Well, we already hit the 5-minute mark, but let me get this last one in. Trump to pardon Susan B. Anthony. Yesterday, everybody was wondering, who's Trump going to pardon? Is it going to be Julian Assange? Is it going to be Edward Snowden? Who could it be? And it's Susan B. Anthony on the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. What a way to strike the fear into everybody, thinking it might have been Assange or Snowden, and way to flip it into Susan B. Anthony. What a great job.
I will be signing a full and complete pardon for Susan B. Anthony. She was never pardoned. Did you know that? She was never pardoned. What took so long?
All right, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow.